All right, guys, real quick, before we get cranking with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of a snapshot of what to expect, the schedule for today, and then we're going to go ahead and knock out your recruiting seminar, mental game talk that we do, so that when you guys are done with all of your metric calculation, you guys can take off, get out of here, be ready to play this weekend, okay? For those of you that don't know me, my name's Trey Fowler. I'm the Director of Events and Player Development here for Best in the U.S. I took this job about 3 years ago when I stepped off the college coaching field for the first time in my life. All I'd ever known was college coaching. I started out at a small junior college, moved on to an NAIA school, then went to one of the top junior colleges in the country before finally making it to the Division I level, where I spent my last 10 years as a coach. And our head coach retired. The guy that owns this company offered me an opportunity to come and work these events full time. And it seemed like a great opportunity for me because my goal has always been to try and help guys reach their dreams and goals in life in baseball. As a coach, I could do that with 40 guys a year. That's great. Now I get to travel all over the country and hopefully have a positive impact on thousands of players every single year. A big way that we try to do that at our events is try to impart some knowledge and wisdom on you guys so that you can take that to help you on your road to becoming the best player you can possibly be. That's the goal. That's the goal. That's what Best in U.S. events are all about. Whether it's a team event, an individual event, our goal is for you to walk out better than you walked in. And that's a big reason why I took this job. I told the owner at the time I wanted to take our events and make them different from any other showcases or any other tournaments that you go to. Because there's a lot of events you go to, you walk out, you showcase, you display yourself, you go home, but then you wonder, was it really worth it? Was it worth it? Can I take anything from it? For the guys that perform well and get contacts from it and recruiting out of it, yeah, it's worth it. But what about that guy that comes out here and doesn't have his best day? That guy that doesn't catch any of those coaches' attention in the dugout. What did it do for that guy? And that's why I wanted to come on, take this responsibility, and try to make it something different, something that you get value out of no matter how well or poorly you perform in this environment. So we're going to start today with our recruiting talk and with our mental game talk, things that I think are important for you to know and understand and hear so that you can ultimately, hopefully one day, win in the recruiting process. That's the key. That's what we're talking about today. I do a bunch of different talks when I talk to our guys at our events, just based on kind of what I'm feeling, the message that I want to convey. But today we're talking about what are the essentials to ensure that you win in the recruiting process. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. In my opinion, if you're going to win in the recruiting process, it starts first with you believing in you. It starts first with you having true belief in yourself. If you ever want any of those coaches in that dugout to believe in you, you first have to believe in yourself. What are the ingredients that go into true belief? I believe there are 3. Some of them easier than others. The first one, a little more difficult for you guys in this day and age. The first ingredient to true belief, which is different than fake belief, we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end, but true belief, first ingredient, positive self-talk. A lot of guys in our world today are surrounded by negativity. Negativity from social media, negativity from the teams that are playing, guys yelling out of the dugout, you suck, you're fat, you can't do this, you can't do that. All kinds of trash talk. Don't listen to it. It could come from anywhere. It might be coming in your own home, you don't know. But don't listen to it because none of that matters. What matters is what you believe about yourself. What matters is what you tell yourself. There's a lot of guys that I come in contact with on baseball fields over my last 25 plus years that would say, I stink, I suck, I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, guess what? Once you start speaking those things into existence, they become the reality you find yourself in. You've got to change the I stink, the I suck, the I can'ts into I am good, I will. Once you start talking positively, that can also become your reality. That's the flip side. That's the positive of it. I can, I will, I am good. You got to talk positively to yourself. It's not easy. You got to train it. It's not something you just wake up with. Not in this world, not today. You don't just wake up and automatically do that. You have to practice it each and every day. You have to train it. Once you start talking positively to yourself, you can move on to step number 2, ingredient number 2, which is visualization. Visualization. There are a lot of studies that show that everything happens twice. Once in here, and then once in reality. Once in reality. But what are you training yourself visually to see? Are you seeing yourself succeed? Are you seeing yourself be the hero? Are you seeing yourself be successful? Or are you constantly held back by the fear of failing? Are you seeing yourself making that error in the big moment? Are you seeing yourself strike out in the big moment? Are you seeing yourself give up the big hit in the big moment? If that's what you're visualizing, guess what? When your reality collides with what you see in your mind, that's what's going to happen. You need to take time visualizing yourself being great, visualizing yourself being successful, visualizing yourself being the best version of yourself. Because when you do that, and your reality collides with that, you can be the hero. You can be the one that gets the walk-off hit. Long before I knew anything about visualization, long before I even knew what that term meant, I was a high school baseball player just like you. Only difference for me, I live right next to the field. My house would have been where that sign is in relation to this field. I was down there all the time. Even when I didn't have somebody to go with, I was still down there. When I went down there by myself, I was throwing baseballs up, hitting them, pretending like I won the game, celebration, running around the bases, all that stuff. If somebody would have saw me, they'd be like, this dude's nuts. He's crazy. What the hell is he doing? He's going nuts out there. Little did I know I was prepping myself for a moment that I would have my senior year in high school. Senior year, playoff game, bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the last inning, that one we all dream about. I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to get that hit. The reporter asked me after the game, how'd you do it? Keep in mind, I didn't really know anything about visualization, but what came out of my mouth was, I visualize this all the time. I'm down here practicing for this moment all the time. So when my reality collided with what I had seen, it was a lot easier to be successful. I didn't practice striking out and walking back to the dugout pissed off. I never swung and missed the pitch when I threw it up. I was always the hero. So when I had the chance to be the hero, it became easier. Baseball's a great sport because it lends a lot of time, if you take advantage of it, to just take a pause, close your eyes, visualize yourself being the hero. Visualize yourself being the guy. Think about it. When you're on deck, when you're in the on deck circle, you got time. You got time. Before a game, you got time. In between innings, you have time. Take advantage of that time. Stop spending that time screwing around or worrying about how you're going to trash talk the other team. Spend that time on something productive, something that's going to put you prepared to succeed when the moment comes. Those are the first 2 ingredients: positive self-talk, visualization. Here's the third ingredient, the final ingredient to true belief, which is the first step to winning in the recruiting process. The final ingredient is the hardest one. It's not easy. It's the one that separates the guys who want to be from the guys who end up being. The contenders from the pretenders. And it's hard work. It's hard work. Because here's what happens. When you put in the work and you know that you've worked harder than the guy across from you on the mound or the guy in the batter's box, when the game of life or the game of baseball gets tough, which is inevitable, it's a tough game, and you get punched in the face, guess what? You don't run away. You don't back down. You keep moving forward, which is how winning is done. Rocky Balboa said that in Rocky VI. That's how winning is done. When life beats you down, you keep pushing forward. That's what working hard's all about. You're sitting here, you're wondering, man, do I work hard enough? Do I work hard enough? Here's how you answer that question. Here's how you answer that question. Statistics right now say that 5%, maybe a little bit less, of high school players go on to play college baseball. So the question you ask yourself is, are you in the top 95% of hard workers across the country? Because if you're not, then you're not working hard enough. You got to get in that top 95%. If you're asking yourself, do I work hard enough? Ask yourself what you're sacrificing. What are you sacrificing to be great at the game of baseball? What are you sacrificing to be better at the game of baseball? Are you sacrificing time with your friends, time with your girlfriend, time on those video games? If you're not making any sacrifices, it's very hard to be great at anything, especially the hardest game there is. So you got to put in the work. You have to outwork, not just the guys on your team. You should be the hardest working guy on your team. That's a small sample size. You got to work as hard, harder than 95% of all the other players, not just in this country. A lot of other countries that have kids that come here to play college baseball too, right? You got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. If you do that, you combine those three ingredients, positive self-talk, visualization, hard work, then you can develop true belief, not fake belief. Because here's what happens when you have fake belief and when you're questioning whether you worked hard enough or not, or you're not taking the time to visualize yourself being successful and to talk positively to yourself. When it gets hard, you run away, you quit, you don't keep moving forward like Rocky Balboa said. That's step number one to winning in the recruiting process. If you want these guys to believe in you, you first have to believe in yourself. Second thing you got to do, real simple, it's a one phrase. You got to take care of business. You got to take care of business. There are several places you got to take care of business. Number one's in the classroom. If you are not taking care of business in the classroom, you're closing doors for yourself before a coach ever knows who you are or ever cares anything about you. There are just flat places you can't go because you're not taking care of business in the classroom. The other thing that happens when you don't take care of business in the classroom is the fact that coaches don't want to invest in you. Because coaches want a return on their investment. They want to invest in someone that's going to take care of business in the classroom, that's not going to be a distraction, that's going to give them a return right there between those lines. Just like your parents. If your parents are going to take their money and they're going to invest in something, they want to invest in something, they're going to get a return on that investment. They want their money to grow. They don't want it to go to waste. So the first place you got to take care of business is in the classroom. Second place you got to take care of business is off the field. Off the field, I got a very simple test to determine whether you're taking care of business off the field. Ask yourself this question. Is there anybody in your life, anybody at all, that you've come in contact with for 10 seconds or 10 years that could say something negative about you and it be true? If the answer to that question is yes, you're not taking care of business off the field. And here's why. You never know who you come in contact with that ultimately can be the helper or the hindrance to you moving on to play college baseball. You don't know who I know. You don't know who these guys know. It could be that person that you got mad at on the way here because they were driving slow in the fast lane and you flew around them and you honked the horn at them and you flicked them off. It could be that janitor at your high school. It could be the lunch lady at your high school. It could be the person who took your order at McDonald's and you asked for 2 double cheeseburgers and they gave you some chicken nuggets. And you got pissed off because they gave you the wrong order and you took it out on them. You never, ever know. So here's one way to ensure that you're always taking care of business on the field. Treat everybody you come in contact with the way you want to be treated. The golden rule. You abide by that, you're going to be in good shape. Here's why that's important. Several years back, I was recruiting a young man who went to high school with my niece. When I went to recruit him, I didn't call his high school coach. I didn't call his travel ball coach. I called my niece. I said, hey, boo-boo, tell me everything you can about this kid. A couple hours later, she called me back. Good kid. People like him. Doesn't get in trouble. All I needed to know. Offered him a scholarship. He came to play for me. Had that answer been different, I'd have moved on to the next guy. But here's the reality of taking care of business off the field. It's not just your job and your responsibility. I've been giving this talk for 25 plus years. The first outline I ever made in a recruiting seminar situation, my boss at the time looked at it and said, are you really going to say this? I said, you're dadgum right, I'm going to say it because they need to hear it, and if they don't, they're going to rob their kid of an opportunity. Taking care of business is not just about these young men. It's about you guys in the stands as well. Mom and dad taking care of business. Because here's what happens. Mom and dad show up to the field, they get to talking with their friends, they start complaining about the umpire, they start complaining about the coach. Why is he playing little Johnny at shortstop? Bill should be playing shortstop. Brad should be playing center field. And a college coach overhears these things. And that's all it takes for them to cross you off the list. All that money, all that time, all that hard work that you put in down the drain because mama and daddy not taking care of business off the field. Here's another scenario of what tends to happen. Player A, or Coach A, shows up to see little Johnny. Coach A shows up to see little Johnny. He's watching the game, and little Johnny strikes out, and it was a terrible pitch, and Johnny's dad is screaming and hollering at the umpire and carrying on. Coach A sees it, makes a note, he leaves. He goes to a game a few days later. Coach B's at the game. He asks about little Johnny. Man, you see that little Johnny play? Oh, man, I was at the game the other day. His dad, he struck out. His dad went nuts, went crazy on the umpire. Coach B goes to a game the next day. He sees Coach C. Coach C said, man, you seen little Johnny? Yeah. Coach A saw him the other day. He said his dad went nuts, yelled at the umpire, chased him into the parking lot, got cops called on him, threatened to stab him. That's how things get blown out of proportion, but that's exactly what can happen when you don't take care of business off the field. It's funny, every time I say this, I look at these guys, and they start looking at each other because they know whose parent this applies to. I had a lady come down from New York when I was coaching at Kennesaw State. She wanted me to do lessons with her 12-year-old son, so I started doing lessons with him. Went to watch him pitch one day. 5 minutes into the game, I called mom over. I said, Tammy, dude, if you don't stop doing what you're doing, no coach is going to want your son to play for him, and no college coach down the road is ever going to want to recruit him. You know what Tammy did? Tammy started sitting way the heck out there where she could say anything she wanted to say and nobody would hear her. But guess what happened to Jake, Tammy's son? Jake's about to have an opportunity to play professional baseball after a really good college career. Something that doesn't happen if Tammy kept sitting in here and running her mouth like she was running it that first day I showed up. You got to take care of business off the field. You guys and you guys. The final place you got to take care of business is on the field. You have to be good enough. You have to be good enough. There's no shortchanging. You have to be good enough. And now, as a high school player, you've got to be better than you've ever been. Because it's very easy for a coach to go to the transfer portal, grab a guy out with more experience, who's bigger than you are, who's stronger than you are, who's faster than you are, who's already had academic experience at the college level. So you got to be better than you've ever been. We're going to take a lot of metrics on you guys today. You have two choices when you get these numbers back. You can look at it and let it discourage you, let it be a roadblock to your development, or you can look at it and say, hey, I need to improve in this area. You can use it as fuel to drive you to be the best you can possibly be. Those are the choices you have to make. But taking care of business on the field is not just about being good enough. It's about being a great teammate as well. It's about being loyal. It's about being a guy that's not going to jump in the transfer portal every time something doesn't go his way. Let me tell you about a guy like that. A guy that played in the SEC a few years back. His freshman and sophomore year at this SEC school, he didn't play. In a day and age where a lot of people would have jumped in the portal, went to the next school, he realized, hey, I'm not going to use my not playing as an excuse. I'm not going to cry about it, whine about it, find a new place. I'm going to let it be the driving force. I'm good enough to play right here in the SEC in one of the best conferences in the country. No matter what these coaches think at this point, I'm going to work my tail off to prove to them that I deserve to be in the lineup. So that junior year for that guy, he did get in the lineup. He played every single day on one of the best teams in the country. Then he became a top 5 round draft pick. Now, had he jumped and went somewhere else and looked for the easy way out, that may not happen for him. Young man's name was Trey Lipscomb. He played at the University of Tennessee. Stand-up dude. That's what taking care of business on the field means. Let me give you another story. Another story about a young man who I recruited a little bit one of the first guys to email him, one of the first guys to reach out. Thought he was a really good hitter back in the summer of 2019. Loved his swing. Thought he would be a game changer at Kennesaw State. He wanted to go to a bigger school. That was his thing. He wanted to go Power 5. He wanted to go a bigger school environment. He had some big aspirations, but he didn't have those opportunities. Instead of getting mad and getting frustrated and getting pissed off about it, he kept working day after day. He kept moving forward a little bit at a time. Finally, he got a big-time school to give him an opportunity to come. Not a scholarship, not even really a preferred walk-on. An opportunity to come and see what he can do. The kid bet on himself. And now, he's arguably the best player in the entire country. Anybody know who it is? Anybody know? Who's the best college baseball player in the country right now? Charlie Condon, University of Georgia. He went from unrecruited, nobody showing interest, nobody caring, to the best player in the entire country. He didn't play as a freshman, redshirted as a freshman, went to summer ball after his freshman year, lit it up, came back, one of the best players in the SEC last year, and now he's one of the finalists for the most prestigious award in all of college baseball, the Golden Spikes Award. And he's probably just a few weeks away from being the #1 overall pick in the draft. That is taking care of business on the field. That is true belief in himself, that he bet on himself and he's going to take it to the bank. That's what winning in the recruiting process is all about. Develop true belief. If you don't have it now, start today. Commit to not talking negatively to yourself. Commit to taking time every single day, visualizing yourself being successful. And commit to being one of the top 5% of workers all across the country. Commit to taking care of business in every aspect. Classroom, off the field, on the field. You do those things, you got a great baseline and a great start on your way to winning in the recruiting process. If I can ever help you, if I can ever be of any assistance to you, reach out to me. You can find me on Twitter, STF3333, that's Stephen Trey Fowler, 3333. I have a lot of guys that send me messages. Coach, how can I do this? How can I get better at this? Remember, I'm in this business to help guys like you get to where you want to be. So if I can ever help you, don't hesitate to reach out. Parents, same for you. You want to send me a message? You're struggling in this recruiting environment that's the worst and most difficult one for high school players than there has ever been? Reach out to me. Reach out to me. I'll be there for you. Like I said, when I took this job with the sole purpose of taking our events and making them unlike anything else. So that no matter what happens for you guys the rest of the day after right now, hopefully you walk out of here a little more knowledgeable and a little bit better than you walked in. That's the goal every single time. Make sense? If you need me, reach out to me. All right? All right, guys, bring it up right here. We're going to talk about what we're going to do from here on out.